Hey guys, Matt Payne here with Matt Payne Photography. I wanted to show you guys how I like to edit my star trail photography in Photoshop. I recently got back from shooting about 400 frames over the course of a few hours over above Telluride on Last Dollar Road with some pretty nice fall colors. But no clouds. So I said, oh, be a cool idea to maybe do some star trails for a few hours and see what that looks like. So the way I like to do it is kind of meticulous, but I find that it produces the best results. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just show you the basics of how I do it. So the first thing I like to do is I like to use Adobe Bridge. So what I've done is in Bridge is I've just highlighted all of the layers that I want from my star shooting sequence. In this case, I just picked 75 just to make it a little bit smaller of a task. And I went to Tools, Photoshop, and Load Files into Photoshop Layers. So in Photoshop, you can see all of my 75 layers are here. And what I like to do is I like to go layer by layer. I know it sounds crazy, but I like to go layer by layer and get rid of any airplanes that have flown through my scene or any satellites. It's I just find that it makes it look a lot more natural and clean, especially if you have a really long star trail sequence. So the way I do that is I use a black paintbrush that's about this size or 40 pixels at 100% opacity and 100% flow. And so what I do is I just unview or show the indicate layer visibility one at a time. So like I said, I like to go through these layer by layer to see if there's any airplanes showing. So I just unclick each layer one at a time and look for any planes that may have entered my scene unknowingly to me. So far, it's looking pretty good. Not seeing any airplanes. Oh, there's one. You can see right there in the side. So what I do is I have to make sure I'm on that layer. So that layer is highlighted. I've got my black brush, and what I do, it seems kind of rudimentary or crude, but I just use the black brush and I paint right through the star trail. Now or the airplane. Now what you're gonna see is that when I'm all done, it might have taken out a star here and there, but I can always bring those back in um, using using the content aware healing brush. So I found another little plane over here in this corner. Gonna get rid of him, and then I'll move on to the next scene and get rid of the rest of that stupid airplane trail right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one over here because that one is looking super nasty. So I'll get rid of that one. Whee! And you can see I went over that star, but you'll see I'll be able to bring it back later. I'll show you one more, just kind of my process. Get rid of that part of that one. And you can see I don't draw super straight lines with my mouse, but that's okay because I'll fix it later. Now one thing, if you want to be really precise, you can use the polygon lasso tool to do the same thing. I can show you how that would work. So you can start here, go all the way over to the end of there, drag it over here like so, and then you can use a black paint bucket and fill in that whole area and make it black. That's another way you could do it if you don't like using the paintbrush, but I like using the paintbrush. So yeah. Okay, made it through all the layers, all 75 layers or whatever, and you can see they're all hidden except for the very last one. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna unhide all of the layers, so they're all visible now. And then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna create the star trails themselves. So what you gotta do is go into blending options, and change the blend mode to lighten, and then I'm gonna copy that layer style. So copy layer style, oops. I'm gonna copy the layer style, and then I'm gonna highlight all the layers, and I'm gonna paste the layer style. So boom, there's all the star trails with the really cool wispy clouds. The next thing I want to do is I want to fix any mistakes I made with my brush strokes to get rid of the airplanes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to layer and flatten image, just to make it all one photo or one layer. And then I'm going to use the spot healing brush, and I'm going to find any spots where my brush strokes may have gotten rid of a star in the star sequence. So while it's flattening, I'm just kind of scanning the image to see if I can find any that are like that. And it looks like I did a pretty good job. Maybe a little spot right there. And that, maybe right there, there's a little gap in the stars that I'll need to fix. But other than that, it looks really good. So as soon as it's done flattening, go ahead and check that out. Alright, so it's done flattening. So I'm just going to come in here and fix the mistakes that I had using the spot healing brush. So just kind of go over that spot and make sure that the star trail looks good. Looks like there's a little weird spot right there I need to fix. And maybe a little spot right there that needs to be filled in. And other than that, it looks good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save my file. Like I said before, I did this in a couple of different sequences for the 377. So you can see I have them all saved here. So I've just been saving them with the name of the last file in the sequence. So for this one, it's 5209. So I'm going to just go like that, change the file name, 5209. And I'm saving them as TIFFs. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to open all the layers of the trails that I've done into one layer, and then I'm going to combine all of these sequences of star trails together pretty much the same way as I did the other one. So I already did that once. So I got this one, this one, this one, and that one. Actually, let's just do this. We'll show you all of them. That'll be easier. So then we go to tools. Actually, I'm going to go in here and close this layer. And I'm going to go to Tools, Photoshop, and load files into Photoshop layers. So then it's going to load all of those sequences of star trails into layers. And then I'm going to combine all 6 of those layers into one giant star trail that I shot over, gosh, I want to say it was like 4 or 5 hours of star trails. It was quite a bit. So I'll let these load and then I'll combine them and show you how that looks. Okay, all the layers are loaded up. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go into the layer. I'm going to do blending options. I'm going to change the blend mode to lighten. And then I'm going to copy the blend mode. So copy layer style, highlight all the layers, and I'm going to paste the layer style. And man, this is going to look really cool, hopefully. Woo, look how big those star trails are, man. Wow, crazy. So then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flatten the image. I actually really like the way those clouds turned out. They look really neat. And then I kind of do the same thing. I just look at it again to make sure there's no weird gaps in the trails or, you know, things that I may have missed before. But honestly, I feel pretty good about this. So then the next thing I might do is I might come in and kind of clean up a few things, like I don't like these lights down here. They got created by, I think, probably like someone's house or something. So I'll just use the spot healing brush to get rid of those, just because they're distracting to me. Um, and then this is when you can start doing your editing. So I usually like to start with my, um, I'll create a duplicate layer, just so that I can be non-destructive about all this. And then I like to play around in curves. So I'll pull up curves and kind of just do a little bit of adjustments, bring down my shadows a bit, darken that sky up nicely, and then punch up the highlights a little bit, bring out some nice contrast. And then this is when you can start playing around with different, all kinds of different stuff. You can maybe work on some colors. So you can do colors and curves too. So you could maybe in the red channel, you can say I want my highlights to be a little bit redder, but only just a little bit. You can see that it kind of adds a little bit of tint down there. But yeah, you can play around with this. So it'll be cool to see the final result. So hopefully you enjoy the tutorial, and I'll show you the end result later.